Hello everyone, welcome to another video. The setup might look a little different because I just got home and I haven't had time to put these up yet. And also, I'm using a different tripod and it's like farther away than it usually is, so you can see the Mountain Dew bottles now. Yes, I do collect Mountain Dew bottles. uh, so yeah, but that's all happening. But that's unimportant. In this video, we're going to be ranking Wes Anderson movies. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, Wes Anderson has been one of my favorite directors for a while now. I just feel like he has a very unique style that you can really only find, not necessarily only find, because I know he draws from like some other people, but it is still a very unique, very one of a kind style that is pretty much, for all intents and purposes, unique to him, which is what I really like about it. Which is That's what I really like about his movies. They're very singular. So that's why I fell in love with them, and I finally finished his entire filmography, or at least his feature length films. I'm still working through the short films, but yeah. So without further ado, we're gonna rank them. In This is my opinion. If you have a different opinion, good for you. Feel free to comment it below. There's no wrong opinions. Uh, someone could like, someone could really like Bottle Rocket. Someone could really like, I don't know, the Royal Tenenbaums. Someone could really like Grand Budapest Hotel. Someone could really like The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. Okay, there's no wrong opinions. He makes a lot of good movies. If you like one, that's great for you. I'm so happy for you. That sounded whatever. Let's get into it. So at the bottom, at least for me, which may seem like a crime to some of you, is his first movie, which is Bottle Rocket. Um, the reason this is at the bottom, it's not a bad movie. It's a pretty good movie. Um, it's just the stuff that I find enjoyable and appealing about a Wes Anderson movie are present, but they're muted in this movie. Like he feels like he's testing the waters for his style, and that's cool to see. But also for a Wes Anderson movie, it's just like just feels like a little bit like, I don't want to say sad, but sad knowing what's to come. It's like I want him to jump fully into the waters and like do some weird stuff, not necessarily weird, but like do his thing. Like that's what I came here for. But all that being said, it's a very entertaining movie. It's a very it's a very Wes Anderson kind of look at like, well, not even look, but depiction of like robbery and crime, and it still feels very Wes Anderson in the way the story is told. And for those of you who haven't watched Wes Anderson movies, you're just like, what does that mean? And then just go watch a Wes Anderson movie. You'll know what I mean. But yeah, it's very like, I don't want. It still feels very like such a chill way of looking at it, and like very calm way of looking at it. Um, this movie does kind of feel oddly paced though. Like we spend a lot of time on stuff that doesn't really matter, and then the stuff that does matter just feels very rushed. It feels very like jerky and it's in that way. But at the end of the day, I do think it's ultimately a good movie. But that's just my overall thoughts on it. All right, second to last is his newest movie, The Phoenician Scheme. There's a lot of thoughts on new Wes Anderson, that he is becoming way too abstract and heady, and he's yapping about stuff that just like doesn't really connect, and it feels very intangible, and it's just like whatever. That's kind of just the basic criticisms. And for this movie, I completely agree. The main flaw with this movie is that it feels very abstract. Like what it's talking about feels very intangible, and it's just kind of like I would like it to be more down to earth, more grounded, more like yeah. And what they're talking about is important because they're talking about death and life and what it all means and whatnot. But the way they bring it up is very like out there, and it's just like this they're like talking, they're introducing you to this concept more than they are introducing you to it in regards to the characters. I guess I don't know how to explain it really. I mean, it does affect some of the characters, but it feels like a concept more than a real tangible thing, and that's my main criticism. um Other than that, and that does kind of affect the story, it's because if the whole thing is centered around this abstract concept, it feels very difficult to get into. It's just like, okay, um, cool. I do think this movie is very good looking. The production design's amazing. It's shot very well. Um, yeah, I mean, in classic Wes Anderson fashion, there's the black and white scenes, which I think are a really cool stylistic choice. It's just the the meat and cheese of it all is very hard to connect to because of how out there it is. And that's just really my main complaint. And yeah. But it is a good movie though. I do like it. It's just yeah. Next up is the first Wes Anderson claymation movie, and it's not Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's Isle of Dogs. Um I like Isle of Dogs. I feel like Isle of Dogs is kind of Wes Anderson's just most like straight shooting movie where it just like it does everything to like an 8 out of 10, and it's just like okay, I enjoyed everything. I felt like everything was above average, but I was not blown away. And that's kind of my thoughts. I do feel like the story of Isle of Dogs is a little flat and can be like a little boring at times. That's really my main criticism of it. Other than that, it does everything pretty well. It also can be a little difficult to like, at least for me to follow the different language, the like Japanese parts. I mean, that's a me thing. I was able to do it though. Not yeah. I That's like a very very minor criticism. But yeah, I just feel like I'm trying to think. The story of this is just mainly the issue where it can drag at times. Other than that, it's a pretty wonderful movie. The claymation is really good. The How it's shot is really good. It looks wonderful. It's one of his best looking movies in my opinion. Um that's pretty much it. That like there's not really much else to say. It just kind of gets beat out by his other movies. Like I don't know what to yeah. All right, next up is the Darjeeling Limited. Now, I have a very specific problem with this movie that I'll just get over right now. The view of like self discovery it's pushing out is very eat, pray, love adjacent, where it's like, oh, going on a trip to find yourself. That's just not something I like in stories. I think it's a little corny, and I think it's a little like bit of an incomplete view of like maybe identity or like mental health. That's just not something I like. Um, that's really the only reason why it's down here, which just goes to show how stacked this man's filmography is. He's got bangers. Like uh but yeah, other than that, everything else is really good. It's just that aspect that I'm a little iffy on. So yeah, um, the again production design's really good. The cinematography is really good in classic Wes Anderson fashion, and yeah, I mean, what else is what else do I want to say? Oh yeah, and the story of this is also really good, following the three brothers trying to reconnect. It is actually a concrete story that you can like. This is a thing, like, uh, yeah, and there is like the shot of them running to the train that reoccurs, that is is really good. I do really like this movie. It's just that one aspect that's holding it down. All right, next up is The French Dispatch. This movie is one of Wes's most gorgeous movies. He locks in here on making this thing look really good. Like he changes up like the color scheme. Like goes black and white sometimes. He changes up the aspect ratio. He just really locks in on the visuals here. That being said, it is an anthology, which is good and is bad because this is modern Wes, so he is talking about something very abstract, which I think is better talked about here than it is in the Phoenician scheme. And I think the anthology does a better job of conveying that message of like, because basically here he's talking about art and what it means to make art and how art will live on after we die. So it's a lot. But I do think that you don't really connect that much to the characters of each story because you're given so little time with them. And it's yeah, so the anthology structure is a double-edged sword. It works really well for conveying the overall themes. It doesn't really work as well for telling a story. And I think there's more positive than negative when it comes to that. So I think overall it's actually a really good movie. And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. And Timothy Chalamet's in this one, so cool. So next up is Asteroid City, and it's the last of the modern West movies, and the one that I think is the best. Yeah, it's Asteroid City. That's probably a little bit of a hot take, but we'll whatever. I do think this is one of Wes's best looking movies. Just straight up, it looks amazing. The claymation stuff, how it's captured, the colors he uses, all incredible. And I also think he pairs like actual interesting characters with like abstract depth the best in this, because both are firing in this, because he explores grief through one of the characters trying to get over like his dead wife, but then he explores like, guys, what, like, living in a world like, how do we keep living basically in a world where stuff happens that doesn't make any sense. And it's like, and he uses like aliens and sci-fi stuff to explain that, but then he also uses this character's like grief to explain that, and it's really interesting. And even aside from exploring the themes, the story itself is really interesting, and it's just like, this is like, this is cool. And yeah, the characters are really interesting. It's yeah, and it's shot really well, of course. It's, the production design is really well, per usual for Wes Anderson. It's just a really really good movie, really well made. Next up is Rushmore, which is I think his second movie, so he jumped up a lot from first to second. I actually I really enjoy this movie. Um yeah, this I do think this era of Wes Anderson is like the era that I connect with the most because it is a little like what I like to call he touches on this awkward type of sadness, especially in this era, like from like in like 2000s type of thing. That like is kind of hard to pinpoint on like what word would describe it, but I like to call it an awkward type of sadness, and I think Rushmore does that as well. Um, so yeah, and this is when he started just going balls to the wall with his style. Like you can see the Wes Andersonness all over this. It's not necessarily as well production designed as his future movies. Like I think Asteroid Cities probably has better production design than this, but at the same time, he's just starting out. Let's give him some just give him some grace. And also at the same time, it takes place out of school. So it's like, listen, man, what do you want? What do you need? What do you want? Okay? But the actual concrete story of this is actually really interesting. It's it's about like a guy who's like trying to get a teacher to fall in love with him, and it doesn't actually happen, but they do a decent job making you root for that question mark, which is an incredible writing job. Like you have to do so much work to make that seem like a I don't think you're rooting for that, but you're rooting for the character. So you have to do a lot of work for that to happen. So yeah, hats off to Wes. Yeah, and this movie it again, it is more tangible Wes, more like you can like feel what it feels more grounded basically. Those are the words, and I do tend to like Wes when he is more on our planet and human. All right, top 5. Woo! And somehow this one has sneaked into my top 5. Actually snuck. I'm an idiot. It snuck into my top 5. Ugh, it's The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. This one, I don't know what the general consensus is on this one in terms of Wes Anderson movies. I really like it though. I think it looks really good. The needle drop of Life on Mars when he's walking out of the like he walks out of a door on the boat and like walks towards the front of the ship, I think, and there's a needle drop of Life on Mars by David Bowie, and it's really good. And that's kind of my entire like that made me fall in love with that song. Like I love that song now because every time I listen to that song, I think of like the feeling that this movie gives you. And basically it's about a washed up like TV like marine biologist who's trying to grapple with the fact that his career's over, all while like he finds his long lost son. And and there's he's also like trying to kill a shark that killed his friend. It's a lot of emotions being bounced off the wall, and you get this like ending scene where they find the shark, and I forget the exact lines, but basically they're looking at the shark and they're like, it's beautiful, and they don't kill the shark. And I I just love that scene, and it is kind of like the awkward kind of sadness. It's not even sad, but it's like this untapped emotion that I didn't know I could feel until I watched Wes Anderson movies, and that like that scene in this movie clicks those buttons perfectly. Do I think it's his best movie? No, because I really the only thing that this movie is like lacking is it's just like not as good as the next movies. But this movie does have one of my favorite lines of all time, and I think it's I don't know. Oh, I'm about to get exposed, but I just I think it's do all the interns get guns, and that line's hilarious. So yeah, next movie. All right, next up is Moonrise Kingdom, and I don't have nearly as much to say about this, which could mean my rankings wrong, but we're gonna do it this way, and then maybe amend it later. But Moonrise Kingdom is also just a very like down to earth, grounded love story between two kids, which some people it throws off some people, but they're both kids, so yeah, and they run away to from camp. Actually, no, he runs away from camp. She runs away from her very wealthy childhood, I think, and then they both meet up, and then they decide to get married. So yeah, and it's this whole thing. It feels very like very Dollhouse esque in its production design and story, and like kind of of like a fable almost. And I do just love the aesthetic, and it of course it's Wes Anderson, but including the story and like everything grouped together, I just love the vibe that this movie gives off. It's a very cute story. It like and it's just a great time. It's a great vibe. It's a feel good movie. Um yeah, and it just, just brings a smile to my face. Top 3. Now this one is a lot of people's favorite Wes Anderson movie. It is not my favorite Wes Anderson movie. Fantastic Mr. Fox. I really like this movie. This movie does so much in so little time. This movie just really hits you in your heart. The claymation is amazing. It looks amazing. It like just everything about this movie looks amazing. The music in this movie is amazing. The colors, the performances, the way like the writing, the story, virtually everything about this movie is amazing. The only thing is that it's just not as good as the next two, which is so sad because this would be like if a random director made this movie, it would be their best movie by a long shot. I love this movie. Like I like if someone said, "Hey, let's watch Fantastic Mr. Fox." I'm there. Like the way that how this movie like looks at like family and just like how parents can influence their kids. Basically, it's really interesting, and I just really yeah, like all the characters have like their own like little like mental obstacle almost to hurdle, and the way in which that's addressed is really interesting and unique, and I love it. And yeah, this movie's really good. It's just not these next two. Number 2 is the Grand Budapest Hotel. Um, this is a masterclass in production design. It's looks so good. This is also the movie that got me into Wes Anderson, so it holds a special place in my heart. But the story of this is very it's very like it feels kind of like a satire of an Agatha Christie novel, which is that sounds bad, but it is very funny. Like, and everything does kind of have an undertone of humor in it, but it also feels very grounded in real emotion. But the thing that stands out is just how this is shot and how it looks. It's so the color palette of this movie is so unique to anything Wes has done, and especially to anything any other director has done. Nobody's doing stuff like this. It's so pink, and it's amazing. I love it. It's so good. Like there's like I remember like messaging one of my friends. I was like, this movie looks insane, and I sent him a shot, and he was like, that's crazy. And yeah, it this movie did get me into Wes. I absolutely loved every second of it. It it's still one of the best looking movies I've ever seen. Yeah. Now you've probably figured out number one, so I'll just get it out of the way. It's Royal Tenenbaums. Royal Tenenbaums. Um, the emotional weight of Royal Tenenbaums hits me like a truck. I absolutely love how this movie just addresses like the brokenness of families, and like just like lives in that emotional complexity, and doesn't necessarily try to fix it, but it tries to accept it. And I love how it looks at depression. I love how it looks at just like at pretty much everything that is involved with this movie is something I like. It looks really good. Like the production design is very solid, especially for early West. It's you get. I'm just trying to think of everything else. I do think the performances in this movie are also really good. Um, because even though it is very like West coded, where it's like he wants the deadpan, it does feel like the actors are like really into what this movie is doing, and they're committing fully. And that especially just like allows it to be, you know, that much better. But yeah, this the story of this movie almost brings me to tears. I don't cry at movies. This movie gets me close. I just love everything about this movie. Um yeah, it's just it just holds a special place in my heart. It just yeah. So yeah, that's the end of the video. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have a different ranking of Wes Anderson movies, feel free to comment that ranking below, and I will look at it, and I will maybe reply to it. But yeah, and hopefully you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, like the video, and yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye.